so I decided to write a song.
How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Suave, and I'm the host of the Makeaway podcast. Usually like to interview football players, but this guy is anything but just a football player. I'm here with Jamal Cooley. He is the senior social media coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, alumni of East Stroudsburg University, alumni of Father Judge High School, and a very, very esteemed guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Jamal Cooley.
What's going on, y'all? Jamal Cooley, social media senior coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Handle a lot of graphic design, a little bit of photography and color correction for all our social media platforms. So blessed to be here, blessed to talk, football, life, everything else with my guy Suave. So let's get into it, man.
Awesome. So Jamal, talk to me about, the starts of your football career.
So the start, it was definitely a young age of 5. Funny story to it is that a lot of people that know me and watch my whole journey or whatever, they know me from North Philly Aztecs and E9 Eagles. My first year was with the Oak Lane Wildcats when I was 5.
Wow.
So I wasn't old enough to play for the Aztecs yet. Aztecs started at 6. And I was just so eager to, just get on the field because my 2 older brothers played. And I would always go to their games, and I was so anxious, I always wanted to get on the field. So Oak Lane Wildcats was around the corner at that time. And then right after that 1 year, it was went to North Philly Aztecs. My dad coached for the Aztecs too.
So that was just a little secret year.
So one year with Oak Lane, and then it was straight North Philly Aztecs all the way up. And then my last 2 years, Pop Warner, I played for E9 Eagles.
Okay.
So a lot of good football as a youngin'. A lot of good coaches in the city that coached me when I was young too. So it was a good journey. Pop Warner football was was legit back in the day.
Okay, so in your younger days, did you ever get a chance to play for Coach Wiz? I believe he was one of the more.
So the thing is, I never played for Coach Wiz, but he was still always a coach to me, just because of the guy he was. He basically ran the Aztecs organization, so he was always at every single game. He was always more than a coach to everyone. He was always another father figure for every kid, no matter what pound, whether he coached that pound or not. So I never specifically played a year under him on his team. He always coached, for the highest, what the age group at the time was 160. I don't know what the weight pound is now.
I don't think they got weights now.
They only got, dang, that's crazy.
It's unlimited. These young boys could be 250
that's
pounds
what I'm saying.
playing Little League.
We getting old. But he always coached, the highest age group. And unfortunately, I never, got to that. I never got to the age group with the Aztecs and didn't get to play with him. But even when I went to the E9 Eagles, like I said, he was the same guy. He never switched up or nothing. He was always there for me. Was like another father figure. And like I said, he was always around and he always showed the support. So he was one of the true
icons.
One of the true icons and one of the true down to earth coaches that he was probably the first coach I had. Because at a young age he was always around me. He was the first coach I had outside my dad that would always make sure if I needed something or it was more than football to him. That was the first. You know what I'm saying? That was the outside of my dad, of course. He was the other
father figure.
He was the figure. That it was more than football to him. You know what I'm saying? He wanted. I seen him take kids that he coached from 5 to 6 years old and go on along their journey all the way up till he went to college. And like I said, that was the first outside of my dad I've seen that, with coaches now. So I think, it was a blessing. Philly football was blessed to have him. Rest in peace. But he was.
Yeah, no, rest in peace to Coach Wiz.
He was more than a father figure, man.
Yeah,
he was more than a football coach. He was more than a football coach.
I never got a chance to play Pop Warner, but once I got to high school, I had a lot of high school teammates, even college teammates that played North Philly area Pop Warner.
Yeah.
And before he passed away, I seen people always tag him on the offers. I'm like, dang, that's a Pop Warner coach, and people tagging him when they getting D1 offers. Usually kids will post their high school coaches or the college coach or whatever have you. But he was so impactful in a lot of these people's lives that they wanted to let people know this was the guy who I attest part of my success to. So shout out to him. Hopefully he's still watching over y'all, still supporting y'all from where he was, since he's been supporting y'all whole life. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's a great dude right there. So after you finished up with the E9 Eagles, a lot of good names came from from the Aztecs and the E9. Obviously DeAndre Swift, a couple of the other guys, obviously. But you made your way to Father Judge High School after that, right?
Yeah. So I actually started off at Imhotep.
Okay.
My first 3 years. I ended up going to Father Judge my senior year. Throughout all high school, I had a bunch of knee injuries or whatever. I had 2 knee surgeries, so ended up missing my whole senior year. The first scrimmage, ended up, having a growth injury in my knee. Had to get screws in it. Missed the whole year. And then basically that's where like that big first set of adversity in life just hit. I was a senior. Everyone knows like how your senior year goes. And like you want to ball out, find where you want to go, commit, signing day, that whole experience. And it's like I didn't have none of that. It was just like, whole lot of rehabbing and just,
mental football.
It was a whole lot of that. And at that age, 17, 18, it's like, it was tough. You talk to coaches or you're in contact with coaches throughout the whole year before the season even start. And then it's just like everybody goes because you hurt and this, that, and the third. And like at that age, it was like kind of hard to deal with it. Just not, not playing that much football, in high school, like on the field, mainly due to a lot of injuries I had.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think the only year I actually, wasn't hurt my junior year at Imhotep. Didn't play much, played behind a lot of good people. But like I said, it was a lot of ball players there. But even, not playing, not getting playing time and that, I still learned a whole bunch, from the people around me, the coaches around me. And I think like even that 1 year, not playing a lot on the field at all, really, I took a lot in mentally. I was real coachable. I always worked hard, and I think that's something I always brought, all the way up to me right now, even like in the work field. It might be times where you not like had your time, and then like mentally you might think you bigger than what it is, and like you should be doing this, that, and the third, X, Y, and Z. But if just keeping faith and keep working hard, and all that eventually pays off. Because I think like that's one of the biggest things I took with me now, especially being coachable. There's a lot. I've been in high school, whether it's high school, college, Pop Warner, took in a lot of coaching, and I applied a lot of that stuff, to not just the sport, but to life in general. So
being coachable is probably one of the most important things that I've learned from being an athlete. When I started applying for jobs, when I was going through the field, I really made an effort to let a lot of people know like I was an athlete when I was in high school, when I was in college, because if I didn't, like I wanted, like they were like, so like how was that work experience though? I'm like, listen, like when you gotta walk into a room every year and there's people behind you, people in front of you, and you gotta be able to learn from the younger people, you gotta be able to learn from the older guys, like that's one of the most important traits that you could take with you into the workplace. Because right now in your field, you going into the workplace on the first day, you can't say that you know everything, because in a creative workspace, your job is different every day. I'm assuming.
That's a fact, yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're not willing to learn with the times, there might be a new guy that gets hired today with 5 years less experience than you, but he learned something cool from somebody over the sake of 5 minutes, but that might change your career for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Learning one little tip, one little idea, one little way how to set your camera up real quick, one way to cut out people on the edit, whatever have you. You feel me? Because the little things learning from somebody can go a long way, and that happens in football or in life.
Yeah, that's a fact. And just like summing that up, going into college, didn't really have nowhere to go. Like I said, I was able to get healthy enough that spring of my senior year and do track, put up some good numbers. I was a long jumper, triple jumper, with the states at Father Judge that last season when I was healthy. And still had a couple looks for track. Didn't really have nothing for football, and I ended up walking on, to East Stroudsburg University that spring, after the track season or whatever. So it was probably like 2 months before like camp even started, and I think that's when I even committed to walk on.
Wow. Because
I didn't have no scholarships, no offers, or nothing.
And at that time, the defensive back coach is the current head coach, Jim Terwilliger, right?
Yeah, so Jim Twirler, we call him Coach Twig. He recruited me. Only coach that somewhat kept in contact with me, asked me how I was doing, even during like rehab process and different things. And I think he like saw me one day that spring. He just randomly popped up. I don't know if it was a spring or even before signing day. He just popped up just to.
At the high school, right?
Yeah, at the high school, just to see like how things was going, and he saw me like working out, and I think like that gave him like the real push to believe that I can like overcome the injury and at least like show that I deserve a spot and I could play college football. And that was big for me, because at that like I said at that age, 17, 18, going through that mentally, I mean, having so many coaches turn your back, it's like, damn, is anybody gonna believe in you? And then like you got all it takes is one person, one coach, and he was that one coach that believed in me. So shout out to him, man.
Yeah, no, shout out to Coach Terwilliger. He's doing a great job. uplifting that program over at East Stroudsburg. And I think people really need to understand the importance of having a coach that believes in you from day one. Because if a coach believes in you, he's going to be able to put you in position to play at a high level. Because if the coach doesn't trust you, he's going to be limiting the amount of things he throws at you. He's going to limit the opportunities he's throwing at you. And that's going to take back away from your player.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Especially as a defensive back. Every single play, your career and the respect that you're getting from people is on the line, right?
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. I think it's the hardest position to play on the field. I mean, people say quarterback. I mean, hey, I give quarterback the only exception. That's a different beast too. But outside of that, man, I'll say it all the time. I think
playing corner is a different mindset.
I think corner is the hardest position because it's different mentally. I mean, you on the island, it's just you versus them. Ain't no running.
Tell me about the mentality that you got to have.
You got to be confident.
Confidence.
Without a doubt, man. If you out there on the island, and you scared, you already lost.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. Like if you out there at corner man to man, you know it's man to man, and you're scared, you lost. You gotta be confident, dog. Like, and that's what I love about the position too. Is just like any confidence you see out of me, I'm lying if I say it doesn't come from me playing corner basically my whole life. I think like that position is a different breed, man.
Yeah, I'm about to say one of my coaches used to call it a 99 and 1 position, where like you can be perfect 99% of the time. You make a mistake one time.
They can remember that.
That's all you remember.
You can lock someone up for 3.5 quarters, but that
3 and 9/10 quarters.
And that last
you give up that
minutes,
199-yard touchdown. You know
that last 3 minutes you give a touchdown. That's what they gonna remember. So you definitely gotta be able to keep your poise because you gotta be able to bounce back too. So. Like I said, and that's the same thing that goes with life. So.
And that's another trait that follows. You see the beauty of football? That's another trait that goes with you in the life. You walking in and you thinking like, oh, man, I'm going into the workplace. I'm starting this new job. If you don't walk into that first day of work with the confidence of someone that's been there for 10 years, but the humility to know that you need to be able to ask for help, you're going to be doomed before you walk in there.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're walking in as the senior graphic designer and you're responsible for creating, for color editing, whatever have you, you need to know that you know what you're doing when you walk in there, right?
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're going to have a team with it. You're going to have people that you can ask questions to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, being confident don't mean you got to know it all. Like, you don't got to make it seem like you know it all, but you
got to be confident in what you know and have the confidence that people aren't going to look down on you for asking for help as well.
For sure. Well said.
All right, so let's see. So, as of right now, you're a walk-on that's at East Stroudsburg University.
Right.
You get to your freshman year, and you're one of the people that got thrown into the fire early. Tell me about being a walk-on and having to contribute early to your team's success.
So I think like that's definitely where the confidence, was the confidence. Now I want to say the confidence began, but that's where the confidence was tested because I'm a walk-on. I'm a guy where it's like coming into camp, like if this the bottom of the depth chart, I'm like here. So I think
I'm below the ship.
I think like
I'm swimming behind the boat.
So I think like first making the team, in my head I wasn't. I didn't go into camp or like arrive in there saying that I got to make the team. I went in there saying like I got to make the most of every opportunity, every play.
I got to make the bus.
So like that was my mindset. Like I'm going to show like every opportunity I get, like who I am. I'm Jamal Cooley. That was my mindset. It wasn't about like, all right, make the team, and then like it was like, yo, take it one day at a time, take it one rep at a time, and then before you know it, the season starts. Of course, I make the team, and then I think like by like week 3 or 4, the corners started going down due to injury. Things started escalating, and then I think me and Andre Gray, before you know it, like we were 2 freshmen.
Starting on either side.
And we were both starting, yeah. I think by probably week 4 or 5, we were both starting at corner. So that's true freshmen.
Tell me about the relationship that you guys had both playing corner, because I feel like it's a very, very, very...
Yeah, I think, like when we touched the field together, it was always like, yo, we don't care. Like even when we was freshmen, it was like, yo, we don't care if we freshmen. We don't care if we just sophomores. Like we don't care like how many snaps we got to play on the field and not coming out. Like, it's like, yo, we on the field, lock them up. Like, we on the field, like, take one play at a time, but lock them up.
This is our thing.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's where the confidence came. That's where the confidence came at. So I definitely think, like, playing together all the way up, we had a real good relationship on the field, communicating different things, and I think that's what made it better, too. because playing defense is like got to be on the same page. You got to be on the same page in general playing football. But I think like when you ask any defensive coordinator, we got two corners who are on the same page and we're like real good friends and like are good at what they do. It's like
it's hard to stop us.
It's hard.
So let's see. So your freshman year, you guys got thrown into the fire, both playing the next amount of minutes. And then let's see, like once you get to your sophomore year now, this is your first time walking into camp as the man. This is probably like your first time playing 2 consecutive years of football in a pretty long time. How did it feel going into that sophomore year, which was on paper one of your better years of college football you had?
Confidence through the roof. Mm-hmm. Like I think touching the field my sophomore year, and I think, in my opinion, the only person that ever asked me this question was my dad and my brother. Like, what you think your best game like ever was? And I always say, first game of my sophomore year. I think we went to West Virginia and played. It was ranked 16 in the country. I don't know why I can't think of the name.
Fairmount State.
Played Fairmount State.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Played Fairmount State. It was ranked 16th or 18th in the country.
It was
something
nice
like
that.
Yeah,
that's why.
And I think we went in there and we beat them like 22-16 or something like that. I don't remember the final score, but I think I had like 3 PBUs. I think I had like a tackle for loss and like 10 solo tackles because they loved running outside zone. So like the corner, eventually like, if he gets past outside and I'm not contained, I got to make that tackle. So I think I end up having like 10 solos, 3 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles or something like that. One or 2 forced fumbles.
Damn, they're PSAC defensive player of the week, man.
That game, it was just like I was at corner, but it felt like I was everywhere the ball was at. And it was weird because people noticed I wore 47 at the time because it was something with not switching numbers. But it was like, yo, I always get, shit talked from sidelines because the number I wore. But it was just like, yo, I was always just answering because like I was just doing my thing with the ugly ass number on. So it was it was funny, but like teammates, they see this, they gonna laugh, but they know like when I had that number on, and they were all, and eventually they would just call me 47 because it was just like, yo, you wearing that number, but like no matter how much they try testing him, like he still shows like he can play, he can ball.
And the thing is, I think a lot of times when the guy that had one of them type numbers on, man, you gotta have some heart to go out there and like go crazy.
That number is terrible.
Because the sidelines just go and talk to you.
And I thought you was gonna try to sit up here and say like something about numbers numbers matter, bro.
Numbers matter for sure, bro. I'm not even
bro,
trip,
I'm not
bro.
Care, bro.
Like, cause it
no
look
matter
good,
how
feel
much
good,
you
play good, bro.
No matter how much somebody can sit up here and say like a number don't mean it don't, but it do. Bro. Like
it's a part of your identity, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a part of your identity. Like sometimes you might wear a number because you might do it in remembrance of somebody. So like when you talk about your why, like some people why is in their number. So that's why I always got respect for guys that like stick with the same number or got a reason behind why they wear a certain number. I feel like that's a stereotype that's like thrown around. That's like a lot of people that don't play a sport it's easy for them to say a number don't mean nothing. Like, but like when you got a Y and your Y is entitled into that number, it's like it means a little different.
Yeah, like I remember when my little brother got into his freshman year, my youngest brother, he got to Shippensburg last year, and they gave him like options like 3-4 numbers that he could have had the first day of camp, and he could have chose to wear something else, but ever since his senior year, when he switched out, I think it was around like 88, like 87 or something like that, when he was like just like getting onto the high school football team.
Yeah.
His senior year, he switched to wearing 52, which was the last number I wore when I was in grad school. So when he got to Shippensburg, he got to college, the coach was like, yo, like you one of our guys, like you can wear whatever number you want. Like here goes this and that number, like you can take your pick. He was like, no, give me 52. You know what I mean? And that meant a lot to me to see my little brother like I don't care how he looks to anybody else. Like my older brother is one of my role models, so like I want to wear his number. That meant a lot to me, regardless of what it would mean to other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he told us all summer, like, no, coach told me I could wear number 9, or coach told me I could wear single digit this, that. He said when they got time to actually pick the number, like he was like, I couldn't see myself wearing no other number but 52. Feel me?
Respect.
Yeah, so that went a long way for me. So let's see, sophomore year was a good year for you, obviously. Made our way over to junior year, senior year. You played pretty well, I'm assuming. Tell me about, the best matchup that you had while you was in college. You can give me 2 of them.
Shit, I was about to say, because outside of practice every day, Tim Wilson, man. Those who know Tim Wilson, he was our all-PSAC receiver of the year. My early years when I was there, my freshman and sophomore year. And then he went on to Eagles training camp, Eagles rookie mini camp, Eagles training camp. I think he played like in the CFL and XFL for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think by far he was the hardest, but we was glad. Me and Dre, we were glad. He was our hardest matchup and getting that in practice, whether it's 1-on-1, 7-on-7, team, offense versus defense. Like
because he was gonna give it to you.
Yeah, because every rep, it was the same. Like he gave you his best. Like he went 100%, whether it's at the line of scrimmage, top of the route, like everything. Like that's why like it was good for us to get that 1-on-1 matchup in practice every day. But outside of him, it might be like a two-way tie. I mean, I think it's gonna be a two-way tie. I mean, when we played Seton Hill one year. They had a guy, Ardell Brown. He played 1 or 2 years at Seton Hill, but the 1 year we only played Seton Hill. That 1 year he was there, and he went crazy that season. I don't think Seton Hill did that good overall, but like he went crazy. He was probably their best he was their best offensive player, and just like Tim, he went hard every play. Like, he was one of those rare types that's like quick and fast. So like as a corner, it's like immediately you're thinking like you gotta be physical with somebody like that. Like they quick and they fast, so they quick off the line and they got the burner. So it's like at some point you gotta have your hands on them, slow him down somehow. So I think he was a rare breed. And then with him, I'm not gonna 1-2 nobody, but I think Winston Eubanks, he was a dude too.
Yeah, that was the guy.
Sure.
Shout out to Winston Eubanks from Shippensburg.
Yeah, PCL.
Number 13. That guy could play. He was like freshman of the year, is all PSAC every year. Yeah. That guy could play ball. He ended up transferring over to Penn State.
Yeah, so Went always was good matchups. Went for sure. He gave us a couple touchdowns a couple years back to back, but
he was a good ball player though, man.
Yeah, he was a real good ball player for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Winston.
Gotta pay respect on his name.
But I'm very, very appreciative of that. Like, going through college, like we're all playing against the same guys, and like we're just seeing like how people are evolving throughout the years. Because believe me, like you might not even give yourself as much credit as you might even know, man. Like not only did like you play at a high level, but like when I went back, I went back and watched a little bit of the film because I had access to like our old huddle.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the development of your game and like the confidence, like how like I saw how fast you were breaking on things. Like the more you developed into the corner that you became over the course of a season.
Yeah, what's that track and field too, man?
Yeah, help your reaction time.
That's right. But yeah, I mean,
speaking of track and field, tell me about because you were a 2-sport athlete in high school, right?
Yeah, my whole life.
High school and college.
Like even now when I was younger playing Pop Warner, it was always when football was over, it was straight on the track. I started with Ivy Hill, then went to Athletes Academy. Shout out to Coach Kenroy, Coach Broadwater, all of them from young days. But and then when I got to high school, I only did that 1 year, my senior year, because I had so many injuries, sophomore, junior year. And then in college, I didn't do track I didn't join the track team until my junior year. But
tell me about that experience.
Yeah, it was funny when I was talking to Coach Twig. I was kind of like talking to the ESU track coaches too. But at that time in high school, I just wanted to play football coming out. So I was just focused on walking off of football and that deal. So junior year, that spring, I ended up joining the track team. The indoor meet ended up going on PSAC. I think I placed top 5th in long jump and triple jump, so I ended up going on PSAC there. And that first semester season there. So that was real cool just because not more so on the track side. Track side was obviously cool, but even like the coaching part, just being coachable and learning different things and applying them, outside of track and in life too in general. I think that was the blessing too. Shout out to Coach Ford. Learned a lot from her, Coach Jamani, Coach Murley, Coach Koch. So
I've heard a lot of rumors about East Stroudsburg's track coach, how like in the heat of the moment, very, very, very motivating. Like not just accepting greatness from you, accepting more, wanting to accept more than greatness. Tell me about when you were in the PSAC championship. You told me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I told you a little bit. I think so. This was just something she'll probably smile when she hears, if she ever see the story, but when you hear me telling the story. But that same track and field championship that I just mentioned, I placed top 5 in. I think the triple jump was the last event. My Coach Ford, she was by my side the whole time, coaching me up. I think I filed my first jump, and then a jumper knows, like when you file your first jump, it's like, all right, you gotta get the jitters out of you, get locked in. So my second jump, I ended up PRing. PR means like my best jump, ever, career, whatever. And then ever since that first PR, after your first jump, jumpers know like you can talk to your coach a little bit from a distance, communicate. And then for those that know they do track, when you PR, like most coaches, they're like, all right, yeah, let's go, like giving a little hype. But it was none of that really. It was more like, all right, on to the next one. You got more in you. Like it was always that type message, like great jump. On to the next one. We need more because you got more. Like it was always that type message, like saying like you got more in you. And I end up not a lot of you not every single jump after that PR'd.
For a whole meet.
From the two jumps, the two standard jumps, and then the last 3 jumps in the finals, PR'd all of them. Every single one PR'd was better than the last one.
And that's in the championship too, so points matter.
That's in the championships, and this points matter. We was chasing Shippensburg that year. So I think that from the time I was there, I don't know if when I left and graduated, I don't know if they ended up breaking that record, but I think that year we had the most points in school history, like for the men's team at a championship meet. So it was big because it was the last event. Everyone's all hype, so around it, cheering the team on and things. So I think that was a cool part too. And just, like I said, taking that coaching in. Like I said, it was always the same message at every jump. Like she would acknowledge it slightly, but it was also like, all right, stay focused, stay locked in. You can do more. Like you got more in you. So I think that was like a message that always stuck with me, just in life in general. It's like, it's good to celebrate the wins. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like you should be confident. That's part of being confident too in yourself and knowing, when to celebrate the win. But you got to also be able to lock back in and bring more out of you. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the one thing I learned from her. And I'm blessed to be able to, share that story and just say how like the things you do in sports can also be applied to life, And I think like that's a different level to tap into.
So, and I think that's what took you over to the next phase of your life, because now at that point, after your senior year of both sports is over, you know what I mean? The pandemic kicked in. Tell me about what happened next. What led you to your first internship?
So when COVID came in, it was just like mentally, it was different mentally, not physically, because comparing it to when I was a senior in high school and I went through like those injuries or whatever, that was like adversity physically. As COVID, it was just adversity mentally, just because graduating, didn't have a graduation. I didn't walk. My parents weren't able to see me walk. I graduated on the computer, Zoom conference or whatever. So it was just mixed emotions, not even just for me, like my parents not being able to see me walk, family, feeling different, not being able to see them during a time of, congratulations. And then just the whole work industry is just different. Like no one knew what the heck was going on with that.
Especially in the sport industry, man. I think they said like at one point 61% of sports jobs were completely gone.
Yeah, like it was.
Stadiums was empty, so those ticket sales jobs was gone.
And
like
the same way like college coaches, would go ghost. It was the same thing with those internships. Like everyone would either go ghost or even say like this internship's unavailable due to COVID. So it was just like, all right, what is next? Like I got an idea what I want to do. Like I'm good at graphic design. I can take photo, but like. The world shut down, so it ain't no taking photos. It ain't no like I'm even reaching out to people like trying to do like some freelance stuff on the side, but it's like they don't even got their stuff together to pay this, that, and the third, or like. So I'm just at this point, I'm like, all right, I need some type of gig, like internship, paid, unpaid, whatever. So the MLL at the time was Major Lacrosse League. It's one of the two at the time. It was one of the two professional men's lacrosse leagues. So you got the Major Lacrosse League MLL. Then you got the Premier Lacrosse League, PLL. And they had reached out because I ended up applying. I told you I ended up applying to a position with the Denver team, the Denver Outlaws. And I think someone that worked in the office for the Maryland team in Annapolis had said, like, we saw that you applied for, the Denver, because I think the league office was in Maryland. Mm-hmm. So someone from the league office from Maryland was saying, we told you apply such and such in Denver. I want to tell you that we have another opening here, with the MLO and Annapolis.
Closer.
So this was crazy because it was an opportunity with the league, not just one team. So I hopped right on it. I just said, all right, let's do it. Like, so I ended up taking that internship. That was virtual too. So at the time, it wasn't a whole lot of virtual working at that time. Remember, like that was like another experience too. Just with the whole, the virtual meeting people. It was different. Meeting people virtually, getting assignments, having due dates and all virtually. Like we did a little bit with it in college, but like it was different in the work field, especially because I'm like doing things and like talking to people I never formally met. So I ended up getting adjusted in that, and I think it was the same time. It was funny. It was the same time when the NBA bubble was going on. So we had like a MLL bubble in Annapolis when they decided what to actually do, like for the tournament.
Yeah.
So the whole season was ended up being condensed into a 2-week tournament. So imagine like a whole football season or basketball season condensed into 2 weeks. That's basically like what that internship was. So it was basically a 2-week grind, like with regular season and championship in 2 weeks. So I think getting all that experience at that time, it was a blessing, that I was able to take advantage of the opportunity because I was able to learn on the fly, work on the fly, and do so many different things, like whether it was photography, design, and even learn a little bit of video editing. Like video is not my thing right now, but I know how to like clip up certain things, and I've learned certain things, what I know now just from that one internship. So I think that was like a real big plus, to have that position at that time was throughout COVID because it was not many opportunities on the table. So I was blessed, to run with that one for sure.
After that internship, tell me where your career landed you next.
So after that, I ended up trying out grad school. I had an idea in my mind that I kind of wanted to, try to stay close or whatever. But it didn't really like, at a certain point, it was just like, all right, why am I staying? Why do I want to stay close? Like I got to explore like some in this field to get my name out. So I ended up, taking a grad internship with the football program Jacksonville State in Alabama. And same way you probably looking at me like, wait, Alabama, that's the same way everyone was looking at me. Like it was family, friends, like it was a lot of people that didn't understand like that move at the time. And it was like,
I gotta do what's best for me.
It was like I gotta do that, and that's something else in life. It's like you going to once you get to this age where you get past college, you get in this career stuff, especially with social media now, it's so many people, so many influences that can take you out your train of thought of what you should be doing or what you think is best for you. And I think like I took advantage of that and not doing that. I did what I felt was best in my heart, and I took that grad internship, and it was just, I think it was amazing. If you ask me, like experience the college, working creative, like in photography, video, graphic design, all that for a team that won a conference championship. And to win the conference championship that spring, it was like the first and only spring football season because of COVID. So that was an experience, being to win a conference championship with them. They lost in the playoffs to Delaware to go to the national championship, I believe. So it was a cool experience. It was in Alabama, a completely different setting. Like I said, completely different setting. But like I said, it was a decision. People were looking at me crazy, like friends, family, like, why are you going on down there? Why, like, what's going on there? But like I said, like,
and at that point, that's probably the farthest you've been from home for that amount of time, right?
Yeah, for that amount of time it was. But like I said, I had that mentality. I was always locked in, still doing what I had to do. I had to take care of business, take care of schoolwork because I was still in grad school at the time. But like I said, it was a grind. I'm not gonna say it was easy. It wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't easy, work when I got there. But the stuff I learned, just not the stuff I learned, not just on the computer or with the camera in hand, but also like in meeting rooms and different things like that. I feel like that's a lot of stuff that I wasn't used to because I was doing so much stuff virtually. Like it was harder for me to sit in meetings, virtually versus,
being engaged
that's what I'm saying. So
person.
when I got to Alabama, it was like, all right, it was my first, couple times like in real meeting rooms, talking about real work stuff, with a lot of people that are like big names and stuff. So I think that's what I needed at that time. I was 20, I think I was 22 at that time. So being able to experience that at a young age where people saying like, no, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't do that and there, and like not having no other option. That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't get caught up into the, no, don't go, with no other option. Like for me, I'm not about to sit here and do nothing when I can take advantage of the opportunity that's going to help me grow. So I think that was the biggest lesson out of that, is taking advantage of opportunities that you believe is going to be better for you with not caring how like people on the outside are going to portray or try to, write the journey for you. Like other people can't write your journey. And, we got this whole social media thing now. Is people see somebody with a car, see somebody doing something nice. It's like that don't mean you gotta do that to get that.
You gotta run your own race, bro.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that was one of the biggest things with me making that move to Jacksonville State. Shout out to all them. Shout out to Jacksonville State too.
You probably got a couple more connections down there too. You probably still got people you talk to from down there.
For sure. Still talk to some of the coaches from that conference championship team. Some of the grad assistants that I worked with at that time. Even some of the players, coolest players on earth. Some of them in the league. Some of them training free agents, different things like that. So that was a blessing to get down there and work with them.
Cool. And then after that led you where?
So after that, I landed my first full-time job as a graphic designer at University of Texas San Antonio, UTSA. So, like I was saying, another new setting, San Antonio, Texas, East Texas, and another state that loves football. So, like I said, it was easy for me to adapt to it, just because for the love of football that's there. And I work specifically in recruiting, so it was just like, all right, this is
your cup of tea.
this is me right here. Like I was a recruit at the time. Like I know how a recruit feels when he at his lowest. I know how a recruit feeling when he don't feel like he on top. So I think being near outside of the graphic design and photography, it was easy for me to fit in and to actually be an employee. I worked well with everyone. We had recruit visits. Know how to work with the parents and different things like that. Because I managed all the photo shoots, basically took all the photos, got the kids their photos, and said in the third. Like I said, it's more to it than that. You actually meet families, you're around the recruits, and stand the third. So it was like I was always a part of that process. So I think that was cool. The coaching staff loved me. The coaching staff was really cool, loved having me around. So I think that also helped build confidence in the industry too, because a lot of good coaches at that time was on that staff when I was there.
That was one of their most winning seasons too.
It was their most winning season. It was their first conference championship as well.
I think they were undefeated too. Like, let's not forget.
We were at that time. We were one of the 4 undefeated teams before losing our first game. We were 12-0. When we were 12-0, I think the only other teams that were 12-0 was Georgia. Might have been like Bama and Clemson or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
no, there was no joke that season. Yeah. I visually remember UTSA. Like they were like nationally ranked as a group of 5 schools. It was very impressive.
But I think we ended up going 12-1 because we lost. The only team we lost to was North Texas. Mm. Oh, actually, no. I think it was 13-2 because we lost the bowl game too. But like I said, it was still a historic season, and then they end up repeating last year. When obviously I wasn't there last year, I'm taking the job with the Eagles, but they end up repeating last year. So even though I wasn't there, I was still happy for them, supporting them throughout that whole year. I actually went back the first game last season when they played Houston. Surprised a couple of them, and it was cool, like being on the sideline actually, seeing them going up that game. But it was a blessing. Like I said, still talking to some of the players there. Shout out to UTSA, coaching staff, players still there. Appreciate all y'all. Appreciate everything y'all did for me. Like I said, hey, the creative staff too was a big help for me. Like working with them, it was a cool experience. Being able to learn from certain things on the branding side. That was my first experience with like knowing how like branding works in the design side and creative side. So
okay.
I think I was able to like mix a little bit of that in with
your own creative touch,
my own creative touch, and like the freestyle type things that go on like with the whole football recruiting things. Like, because when you're trying to get a recruit, it's like sometimes like one off is like a thing. Mm-hmm. So I think like being able to like know how to do like one off things in the design world, that's where I kind of like got a mixture of everything for real.
Yeah, and I really, and as someone who used to do graphic design too, because a lot of you guys wouldn't even know, I initially connected with Cooley because when I used to do graphic designs, I think it was like 2019, 2018. That was when I used to go by Suave Designs. I used to think I was going to be like a lead graphic designer somewhere, but I was one of those people at that age where like every 3 months I would find something else that I really wanted to do. But to this day, like even now with the podcast, like making graphics for putting out the episodes, like helping my social media, whatever have you, learning how to use Photoshop was probably one of the best skills I ever picked up. Yeah. And I got introduced to Cooley the first time because he had his little JC Graphics page, and I remember somebody told me like, yeah, that's Buddy from East Stroudsburg, the outside corner. If you ever seen him, like, and I'm like, yeah, well, I got a question. Like, I don't want to sound stupid, but I know like I kind of creeped on his drawing and saw that he was a visual arts major or something like that. One of those, what was your major again in college?
Digital media technologies.
Media.
Yeah,
he was a digital media major. I was like, all right, so like he actually like know what he's doing. So I reached out to him like, yo, like, have you ever done this before? Like when you're making your graphics, he was like, yeah, like do this or that. So just being able to take the initiative to reach out to somebody is very, very important because the small connections like that will go a long way. Like that's what 2019. This is 4 or 5 years later. I'm still in touch with him, being able to reach out to him and ask him for a favor to come talk to you guys. So I think that goes a really long way.
Yeah, for sure. And like even with me, like what you just said, even from the time I graduated, like I always had a habit. I was always a big Twitter guy, so I would always like even follow other designers or creatives sometimes I might even just ask a question here and there, like what is the little things, like, and be able to apply certain things. It's not really copycatting if you like understanding how certain things work. Like if you know how Photoshop work, you understand how different functions work, and if you find ways to use different things in different ways that apply to the way you like them, like I
I
feel like
wouldn't
that
call
was
it copycat. I would call
no,
it
no, no. That's what
adding
I'm
a
saying.
skill to your toolbox.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just saying, like, I think that's a big thing too, because like you be surprised how many people are so down to earth and willing to help. Whether people is younger than them, older than them, like no matter what. Like I feel like this field that I'm in is it's a wide range of creatives that like you can learn so much. And even like right now for Job with the Eagles, like we have so many different departments in creative for real. Like we have photographers, graphic designers, videographers, producers, and it's like you can always learn something from someone, like whether it's the littlest thing. I think I think that's something big too, just in the field, like always being able to ask questions no matter who it is, because the worst thing you can get is a no. And
So 3 years, 3 jobs, 3 great seasons. Most recent one was with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tell me how
Yeah.
it felt to like make these graphics that like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts and them are posting on their social media. How does it feel to be making quality images that like people we follow are Eagles fans? So you're seeing your work go viral every week. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels good, but it's always like I said earlier, it's always the next one because I got more. So
Got more in
that
you,
was
right?
just I'm gonna be real. Like it feels good. I mean, like, but like I said, it's about acknowledge and recognize how far you came, but also knowing like you always got more in you to do more. So I think that's really like where I'm at and where I've been, like, honestly. So, but the season was amazing. If you're talking about outside of like making graphics, I think like just loving football in general and just seeing games up front and just like seeing games up front is different too, because I'm literally like live tweeting the whole game, so it's like I'm literally locked in, but it's easy to be locked in on the sport you played your whole life and like love so much. So I think that part's cool too. Seeing sometimes how like different life principles we speak on is applied like through teams and on the field and different things like that too, like up close from like even like much older. Some of them are like legends, so I think that's cool too. Because like I said, in my opinion, it's like always it's an environment that you can always learn something in if you really like are tuned in.
Tell me about the most memorable relationship you've built since you got to the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's a good question. It's a real good question. I think most memorable relationship I'd say is probably within my department.
Yeah.
Definitely within my department, my whole department in general, because I think it's the first time for me. It's the most memorable and most teaching thing for me because it was the first job where like I was like, all right, I really gotta like trust the people. Like my last jobs I trust people, right? But this one it was just like it's so many different departments. Like we have a whole photography department, we have videographers and producers, so it's like I don't have to do 3-4 jobs in one. I could just trust the people in my department. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped elevate it. My graphic design since I've been here too. It's like I've been doing probably like 80% graphic design. So locking in on that right there while still like learning a little bit, doing a little bit of photography, doing a little bit of, color correcting. I think that's the biggest thing, like memorable, because it's great people around me in my department, called the department Eagles Entertainment. So many great people in that department. I think, like I said, when I first got there, it was like the first thing for me mentally is like, yo, I don't have to do everything like I did like in my last 2 jobs. Like I don't have to do every photo shoot. I don't have to do, video when like I'm not really, a videographer. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like I really had to like sit back and trust people and still like
you're gonna know
keep,
that when
and
you
that's
get
what
the
I'm
pictures,
saying.
the picture's gonna be great.
That's what I'm saying.
When you get the video's great.
Yeah, so I think I'm doing great with it now, but I think like before, mentally it was like, all right, wait. I kind of had like the mindset like I might have to try to do this, but like it was like, all right, settle down. Like you with the Eagles, like you got graphic design duties, like handle that, and then it was just like that's what I'm saying. Like that's where it was just like it's basically just like knowing your role and playing it well. I think that's the biggest like.
And that carries over from football because when you're in little league, sometimes like in your head, all right, I'm a cornerback, but you got to double as a running back sometimes. Maybe you might have to play wing back this week. You might have to do this, but in your heart, like to the corner, and like you're gonna make your money playing corner, but you got to be able to do a lot more.
Yeah.
But as you progress in life throughout your football career, as you see, like in little league, it wasn't no problem with you playing 3, 4, 5, 6 positions.
Yeah.
But as you get up to college, you was like you were saying, you and your man Ant was one. I'm on one side, he on the other side.
Dre.
Hmm?
Dre?
No, Dre, Andre.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Ant,
you
Ant.
good.
No, I had a teammate named Ant Gray. I don't know why the name Ant got stuck in my head. Andre. Sorry about that, but each of you guys had your one side, and you're like, listen, like, I'm locking down my side. I'm handling my responsibility, and I'm gonna do a good job that you're not gonna have to worry about what I'm doing. So, having the focus of doing what you're supposed to be doing at work is extremely important because now it's gonna carry over to the workplace as well.
Facts. Like I said, that's really all it is. It's like a lot of stuff you experience younger that a lot of it come to light now at this age. It's like, oh, dang, like, whether it's like the adversity from like younger years and then like some of those principles you end up, taking those learning experiences as you get older, whether it's in the job industry, whether you playing ball, like, it's like all of it just comes full circle.
Yeah, what's the importance of making sure that like you're communicating with the different people in your department as well?
Oh, it's a big difference maker.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like you might be moving a little slow or something, you got to communicate that. Like, for example, like if it's like game day and like you may be moving slow, like with editing something, and it's like you still got to communicate it because you don't know what else is gonna come up. Like, it's the NFL. Like, you could be working on something and then somebody's traded, so you got to stop that, prep that. Like, oh, someone's traded. All right, so we're signing, extending. All right, so pause that, add this, that. So it's like, you definitely, it's a lot of communicating parts because it's a lot that comes with it, whether it's, like I said, whether it's a transaction, whether it's, I don't know. It's so much.
It's so much.
It's so much, bro. Like, so I think communicating is good too, just so it's like you making sure that, like, if there's a lot on your plate, like, you're reaching out to people around you, maybe it's something that someone around you can help with, as opposed to, keeping a closed mouth and you got like 10 things lined up and it's like, you feel me? So I think that's the biggest thing with communicating too. And then it's like I said, you'd be surprised how down to earth people are, like, that you're working with, where
Willing
it's
to
like
help you.
that's willing to help you because what y'all both are working on is like ultimately gonna make the whole organization great. So I think that's probably the biggest thing there for real. Like, communication is definitely key. Like, and that's why I said even in football, like, communication was key. So it wasn't hard for me to. When I first got to ESU, it was a little hard, and I found that out fast. I had to communicate, like, on the field and everything. So when I'm first starting something or meeting someone, I might be like a little quiet or whatever. But eventually, like, my communication gets there for sure. Like, because I understand like how important that is for sure. Like, as a whole.
Notice it. Listen, man. One last thing to ask you before we take it out, man. Outside of graphic design, outside of cameras, outside of football, tell me a little bit about Jamal Cooley. What do you like to do outside of picking up a camera, outside of being behind the computer?
Oh man, outside of that, I still like to run. I think, like, I still work out, but I really do still like to run, whether it's like going for a jog, whether it's like sprinting some hills. I think, like, that's the one thing, like, no matter. It's crazy because how many surgeries I had, but I still, like, want to, like, run.
Put your body good.
By the time I turn 50, my knees gonna be like
locked in place.
Yeah. So, but I think, all jokes aside, though, I definitely would say, like, running is one of the things. Like, not even just to be athletic, but I think, like, it also helps, like, release. Whether if I'm having a long week or something, I go on a nice little run after that. Like, I feel like I'm cool, mind free.
Release the endorphins,
That's what I'm
relax
saying.
your body.
Like the relax. I would say watching football, but I'm gonna still count that as like a part of work. But football is probably watching football. If I'm not working it, probably watching it. I think that's something that's gonna stick with me forever for just watching football, loving football. Being able to watch a lot of great players is crazy, but I thought you was gonna say who's the best player I've seen.
No, man. Well, listen, guys. I'm very, very thankful to have Jamal Cooley here on the Make a Way stage. Hopefully you guys got some game from him. I learned a lot from Jamal today. Very, very thankful. I'm very excited to see what you and your team do this year for the Eagles. I'm always watching when the Eagles social media come up because every graphic that comes up, oh, dang, that's Cooley. Oh, he killed it with this one. So very, very thankful, very, very appreciative. We'll be looking forward to all of the fun graphics that you guys are going to put out this year. Shout out to you. Shout out to the Eagles communication team. Shout out to everybody that's putting together all of those graphics, and, make a way.
wanna tell you in person, so I decided to write a song.